What it do, cucks? You thought it was over, but it ain't over yet. We gotta do a Raw review today, motherfuckers. All right, let's get started. Let's see. I got a few new subscribers, but I didn't get any notifications about them. So let me just kind of like. Also, I've been commenting on a bunch of New Japan videos, like I talked about in my last video, and so a lot of my notifications are that. I'm getting into a debate with this guy who's like, "Oh, Okada's 3 inches taller than John Cena." I don't give a fuck. He's a tiny, tiny dude. I don't give a rat's ass if he's a million inches taller. So what do we got here? Yeah, the subscribers I don't think they showed up. They're like, so if you're a new subscriber and I haven't given you, here it is, Isco Conquers or Isko Conquers. That's a new subscriber. But beyond that, I didn't get any notifications. And Mark Love, that's another one. That's it. I didn't get notifications for the other ones. So if you want a shout out, just leave a comment down below, motherfuckers, and I will give you a shout out. Not only that, but I'll give you a shout out personalized to your name or your thing. So for example, there was one guy called Long John. I'll never forget it because this guy was like had like one of the greatest names ever, Long John. So anyways, yeah, let's just get to it, motherfuckers. All right, so first things first. Lesnar comes out with Paul Heyman. This was advertised, right? So it's a big deal. Lesnar's a big deal. I don't care how you cut it. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is this, right? People are booing Lesnar. I'm starting to think that people they're not tired of Lesnar. Like, how can you be tired of Lesnar? He wrestles like 4 times a year. You can't be tired of him. You know what I mean? I think what it is people are tired of Paul Heyman. I like, that's a controversial opinion, but I think it's true, you know? Paul Heyman comes out and says the exact same thing every week. You know, and it's so cringy because the fans chant along. He's like, "My name is Paul Heyman," and every fan's like, "My name is Paul Heyman." Like, no, that's his name, motherfuckers. Why are you chanting that? It's not like a chant. It's like his introduction. So anyways, nonetheless, Paul Heyman comes out and just says, "My client is a beast, and he's the best athlete ever." Like, he's been saying this for like 10 years, you know? Then Brock Lesnar basically enters the Royal Rumble. Now, I don't know what this means for the title. Will he lose it before? Probably not, right? Is he going to win the Rumble? Probably not. You know what I mean? Most likely what happens is Brock Lesnar, he's entering at number 1. So he makes it, you know, like near the end, and like Roman Reigns eliminates him, or whoever wins is going to eliminate him, challenge him for the title. It's actually an interesting way to like set up a feud, you know? The only problem, of course, is the fact that, like, you know, obviously Brock Lesnar isn't going to win. You know, that makes absolutely no sense. And also, he's the champion. So I don't think it's ever been done before. So I don't like that. That makes no sense to me, you know? And like, if Lesnar wins, what would he do? Challenge Bray Wyatt? Like, why the fuck would he care about that? Like the blue belt, you know? He has like the real belt now, you know? So, but I'm sure people are like, "Well, that'd be great. Bray Wyatt should beat Lesnar clean." Yeah, okay. Anyways, next up, so the show started off pretty good, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, all right. Typically, like in recent weeks, we've started it off with like a Cedric Alexander match or like a Ricochet match or some bullshit like that. And typically like a jobberish match. So it would be like, I don't know, let's see, who's a jobber? Like Mojo Rawley versus like Ricochet, and Ricochet wins, you know, like who gives a fuck? Like obviously Ricochet's going to win. But this started with Rey Mysterio. Like they cut to Rey Mysterio. He was already like mid-promo. Then eventually they turned the audio on and he was basically saying how Andrade does not represent the Latinos well. I guess it's because Andrade is cheating, because beyond that, right, like Eddie Guerrero like cheated, but we hail him as like the great wrestler that he obviously was, you know what I mean? But yeah, but like Andrade, because he cheats, I guess like he's not honorable enough for Rey Mysterio, right? But beyond that, Andrade like would make a great representative, I think, you know? Like he looks great, he has charisma. I mean, you know, he has silent charisma because he doesn't really speak English as far as I can tell. But the whole thing with Selena Vega works. He's the U.S. champ. He beat Rey Mysterio clean. Or perhaps not clean, but you know, Rey Mysterio's not satisfied. Rey Mysterio is seldom satisfied as to who represents the Latinos, right? And at a certain point, they have a match. At a certain point, Andrade starts doing the Three Amigos, right? And the fans start booing. I'm just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I understand he's a heel. And in the context of this match, it seems like he's doing it to piss off Rey Mysterio. But I'm sure that Andrade has a lot of respect for Eddie Guerrero. And I'm sure that he's doing it as a tribute as well, you know? When Sasha Banks was absolutely no link whatsoever to Eddie Guerrero does it. She does it, dresses like Eddie Guerrero, and it's supposed to be like cool. It's not fucking cool. You're a loser. You're a nerd. You know, why are you dressing up like a wrestler that you'll never be? Like, she'll never be as good as Eddie Guerrero. Like, very few people are going to be as good as Eddie Guerrero, who, in my opinion, honestly, is definitely in the talks for like top 10 wrestlers. Not top 5, because you have people like Ric Flair and Hogan and honestly Cena. You have people like that are clearly like they've achieved way more than Eddie Guerrero. But right below that, like with the Jerichos and stuff, like I would put Eddie Guerrero like like on the same level as Jericho and like maybe Triple H, like that level. So like top 5 would be like Cena, Hogan, Flair, Shawn Michaels, and then Kurt Angle, in my opinion. And then right below that, Undertaker, and then we have like the rest of them. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that was like, it was good to see this match because, again, it wasn't a jobber match. The match ended with Rey Mysterio doing a Canadian Destroyer, basically, which is now like the most common move in wrestling is a fucking Canadian Destroyer. He does it on Andrade, pins him. Zelina puts the foot on the rope. Then after a few more circle jerkeries go on, Andrade hits his finisher, La Sombra, and wins 1, 2, 3. Rey Mysterio's pissed off because, he was like checking on Zelina because he's a good chivalrous guy. And like, despite that, he hasn't realized that Zelina Vega is not a chivalrous woman who will do these kind of things. So he loses that. I don't know where this is going. At a certain point, Mysterio was saying like he has days left in his career, not years. So perhaps like he just has like a big match at Mania. Like maybe he wins like a big title. Maybe he wins like the Universal title or something. Give him something. Like he deserves something. He deserves to close his career out with something like that because Rey Mysterio is like, I mean, insofar as like cruiserweights go, obviously the greatest cruiserweight of all time. Like he is like Rey Mysterio. Like it's Shawn Michaels and Rey Mysterio are the only wrestlers that were small that can't be considered great. And you could argue Jericho to an extent, right? But like I might even put Rey Mysterio a little bit above Jericho, even above Eddie Guerrero. Honestly, like Rey Mysterio is like a fucking legend, man. Like this guy, like he's so relevant that in every capacity, like as soon as he signed with WWE, at every WrestleMania, he was involved in something relevant. You know what I mean? Like it might have been for the Cruiserweight title, but he always had like a singles match or he had something big. He had a feud. He's always been like protected like that. Like they've understood that he's something good. Like I put him like kind of like how Kane and Randy Orton now, like they always have like the Randy Orton match at WrestleMania or the Kane match when Kane was around, or they have like the AJ Styles match now, like there's that caliber of wrestlers that they understand that like you can't just like not give this guy something to shine in, you know what I mean? And for a lot of people, it's a big deal. In my opinion, it's a big deal to have a singles match at WrestleMania because very few people have had a singles match at WrestleMania, let alone won one, you know what I mean? A lot of times in WrestleMania, the attitude shifts so that they include as many people as they can on the card versus like and as a byproduct of that, there isn't enough time to give someone like his or her due, you know what I mean? That's why people like Cody Rhodes historically have been put in like 8-man intergender tag matches that get canceled, right? Because it's like, all right, we'll just put this guy somewhere because we pay him, nobody gives a fuck about this match, nobody cares at all, like this is going nowhere, no one, like not one person cares. That's why it's a big deal for all these wrestlers that periodically got to like wrestle Undertaker. At one point, there was like a fatal 4-way that CM Punk won that earned him the right to wrestle Undertaker, right? That's how important that is. It's important to wrestle a big match at WrestleMania, even if it's not the main event, super important. So like, and a lot of classic matches at WrestleMania, almost all of them, honestly, except for like the TLC matches, they're all singles matches, like, in my opinion, some of the best matches ever. Goldust versus Val Venus, motherfuckers. Jericho versus Christian. That's one of my favorite matches of all time. Obviously, like the majority of the main events, a lot of Randy Orton type matches, things like that, like things that have had like, or Shawn Michaels matches, like Shawn Michaels is that guy that his entire career at WrestleMania, he had something to do. And it seldom was like a triple threat or a fatal 4-way. And if it was for the title, in the Benoit situation, that kind of shit. But this is a person you can put in your main event forever. And we don't have that many people like that anymore, but that's neither here nor there. Like, it is what it is, But yeah, so like I hope Rey Mysterio doesn't retire. Personally, I've always liked Rey Mysterio. But if he does and he decides to go somewhere else, maybe AEW. Oh, what's the mysterious king doing in AEW? Excalibur. Maybe he can like debut and like be like Excalibur in secret. And people are like, oh shit, it's Rey Mysterio. Whatever, right? So you know what I mean? There's like I don't think he's gonna retire, but he might be like leaving WWE to go to like CMLL. I think Rey Mysterio is gonna be one of those guys that wrestles like kind of like Chavo Senior did, like here and there, and he's always gonna have like moments, which makes me very happy. But if this is the end of his like real like active WWE career, then I hope that he has like a big send off at WrestleMania and wins the title, not like a US title or anything like that. I want him to win like ideally the WWE title somehow, but you can't really give him the Royal Rumble because you have to use the Rumble at WrestleMania to build stars, not reestablish the same stars, which is one big problem that New Japan has. Is like they don't build any new stars. Like it's just there's like 4 dudes who are like on top, like Jay White. I guess he's not really a star, but there's 4 people that are like legit main eventers, And then everyone else is like an undercard guy. There's like no mid-card guys, you know? Like they've conflated the world title and the intercontinental title in Japan to be like a main eventer could go for the IC title and it would be normal, right? The US title and the neverweight, whatever, that bullshit, that's like irrelevant. That means nothing. That's kind of like being like NXT champion like 5 years ago, you know, like no one cares at all. Or like being the ECW champion when the ECW was around. It was like that, yeah. So none of that shit matters, but in WWE they try to build stars like around WrestleMania, you know, here and there. Not always. Like sometimes like Randy Orton's gonna win the Rumble, you know, sometimes Cena's gonna win the Rumble. But they try to have big moments, you know what I mean? So hopefully like something happens with Mysterio. I don't know what it's gonna be. But I really enjoyed like the show thus far. I mean, I wouldn't say really enjoyed it, but I was enjoying it. It was like, all right, we have like legitimate stars. Like when Rey Mysterio and Brock Lesnar wrestled each other, for me that was like, holy shit, that's like legit. You know what I mean? Like that feels legit. You know, like it just feels like two legends are wrestling, you know? So versus like if Brock Lesnar's wrestling like, I don't know, Kevin Owens, like who the fuck cares? Or if Rey Mysterio is wrestling like Ricochet, who the fuck gives a shit, you know? Like Rey Mysterio has seen a million Ricochets go through, like Justin Gabriel, Evan Bourne, like that level of wrestler. Rey Mysterio's beaten them all and sent them packing, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's part of the show was good. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, like, you know, it's way better than the last 2 weeks, which was like, I think all the matches were jobber matches except for like one. You know, so like at this point we've had like a good segment and like I wouldn't say a great match between Rey Mysterio and Andrade, but you know, like not a jobber match, right? And then next we had like the Viking Raiders versus the OC and the Street Profits. This match was all right, you know, like it wasn't a bad match. I thought the OC was gonna win. I really don't see the point of the Viking Raiders. I mean, like when they were in ROH, I thought they were cool because they were like huge guys, like surrounded by little people, right? And they did like crazy shit for big guys. But now, with like their style in WWE, like in NXT they had some moments, but on Raw, every match they have is the same. Like they'll do that springboard like European uppercut where Hansen turns around. Hansen will do his moves like the spin kick. Ray Rowe will do his knee to the face. Then they'll hit the Viking Experience, and that'll be it. And they'll have like a spot or two where either Ray Rowe like power bombs and fall away slams or whatever. He slams two people at the same time, or he picks up Hansen and just throws it on someone else. So this match wasn't like that because they actually were wrestling like some legit teams. But it did kind of end basically the same way. You know what I mean? Like they won. They're still the champions. I guess AOP is going to be champs because like as far as I'm concerned, the fucking what are they called? The Viking Raiders. Their run should be over. You know what I mean? Like they're not entertaining. So get rid of them. And then at this point, we cut to Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens looking for Rollins and AOP. The exact same shit that happened for the last 2 weeks. Fuck it, right? Becky Lynch comes out and cuts the exact same promo, almost verbatim, that she cut last week and the week before. But now her tone has shifted a little bit, being like, I'm starting to doubt myself. Like, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Who cares? Like you haven't been established as a person that doubts yourself, so all of a sudden now you doubt yourself. Asuka comes in, starts yelling in Japanese, starts calling Becky Baka. Baka means like idiot or jackass in Japanese. So I think we should just call Becky Lynch Baka Lynch from now on. You know what I'm saying? So Baka Lynch punches her in the face and walks away without saying a word. This was just like a sad excuse to just have Becky Lynch on there. She is like, unfortunately, moving towards that level of like John Cena, right? Or Randy Orton, where it's like you don't have to show up every week because like you don't want to, basically, right? I think she's moving towards that a little bit, right? So it does make me appreciate the likes of Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens a bit more because they're always there. But at the same time, it's like, dude, who the fuck cares? Like my biggest fear is that in like a few years, Becky Lynch or someone wins like the men's Royal Rumble and becomes like WWE champion or something, which would be a travesty because China, who was competing against the men, never had that opportunity, so they can go fuck themselves if they do that. The only good thing about the Becky, the Baka Lynch and the Asuka segment was that Asuka interrupted her, you know, because I could not stand this shit any longer, motherfuckers. Then we have a brawl between Rey Mysterio and Andrade. Maybe that'll be the WrestleMania match. Who the fuck knows? And then we have things just start going downhill from here, motherfuckers. Downhill. I mean, it already started going downhill when like Becky Lynch and Samoa Joe appeared on TV, but at this point we have Rowan versus like it's got to be the 18th, 19th jobber that he's beaten. Right? This is not interesting, man. not Jr. Jerry the King Lawler keeps saying, he's like, I'm so curious as to know why are you curious? Like, what the fuck? Like, just use process of elimination, dude. Just use like inductive reasoning. It's like, what can fit in that cage, right? It's obviously a rodent or a snake. Nothing else can fit there. Like, if it's not a rodent or a snake, it's like a turtle or something stupid, you know? Like, it's obviously an animal of some sort, you know? It's either that, or if they're smart, it's like nothing. And then when they reveal that it's nothing, like, you know, like the commentators get into like sad voice. They're like, oh my God, like, what's going on? Like, there's nothing there. What's wrong with Erick Rowan's head? You know, some bullshit like that, right? So I could give a fuck less what it is. I don't care about Erick Rowan. Like, I don't like how they take people like Erick Rowan and push them as like big deals. And he gets like a very smart guy gimmick, like a genius gimmick. And now all of a sudden he's hanging out with things in cages. He's a retard again. And all of a sudden, like we're supposed to forget that he was this like quasi-serious guy that eventually got destroyed by Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns, right? And now all of a sudden he's like a threat again. Like they always say, they're like, I've never seen someone manhandle another man the way Rowan is manhandling this guy. And I'm like, well, how about the last 18 weeks in a row where he did the same exact thing, you know? Shut the fuck up. It's stupid as fuck. Then we had AJ versus Akira Tozawa. I was like, all right, this could be a good little match that AJ's obviously going to win. It wasn't, because AJ Styles whooped his ass within 35 seconds and then hit him with a little apron DDT that Orton does and pinned him after an RKO, which was stupid. It's not a good way to further this. It's just another lazy way to just say we had another match on the card, you know? Like, so when you go to read the results, you're like, oh, wow, that must have been a good match. Tozawa versus AJ Styles. Get the fuck out of here. Like, this is like an old trick, motherfuckers. Then Lashley and Lana come out, and they cut like a stupid-ass promo. They get married, I guess, in the ring. Rusev appears via Titantron at quote-unquote a beach and says that the Bulgarian Brute comes back next week, and he's going to put the hurting on Lashley. This is inconsistent, motherfucks, with what he was saying this entire time. And what he was saying was that like the greatest thing that could happen to him is for Lashley to marry Lana, so both their lives are ruined, right? Like the presentation suggested that like that Rusev was kind of like over it, you know what I mean? Like he was done with this kind of bullshit, right? So that's kind of like where this stands, but the feud is just continuing. Like at this point, the marriage element feels minimal. Like you have to end the feud with the wedding, right? Or something has to fundamentally change with the wedding. Like every other wedding in WWE history, either the feud ended or something changed, you know? Like, so when Lita married Kane, like that was, the change there was like Matt Hardy appeared, right? And this led sneakily into the whole Lita and Edge storyline, right? Where they betrayed Kane. Same thing, when Stephanie and Triple H got married, that was the beginning of a complete paradigm shift into a new storyline of like Triple H aligning himself with the McMahons, which was a big storyline, right? But this is nothing like that's going to happen here. Even Billy and Chuck, when they got married, right? It was like Raw invading SmackDown, right? Which was awesome, you know? And it also like kind of ended the tag team of Billy and Chuck. It changed them from like, you know, these two gay guys to just like a tag team, you know? So this wedding thing is stupid. They have the match next week, and Liv Morgan backstage, she's like, well, Lana's going to be in Lashley's corner, so Rusev's going to need me to be in his corner. And all of a sudden, she's like smiling and like looking forward to it, you know what I mean? Last week, and for the weeks before, we've seen these vignettes, right? Being like, oh, I'm here, I'm going to have a change, I'm going to change, right? And then like she came out to interrupt Lana's wedding, and she was like, it was like a heartfelt moment. She was like, Lana, like, nobody makes me feel the way you do. And now she wants to whoop her ass. Why? Because Lana doesn't like you anymore? Like, how is that reasonable? You know what I mean? Like from a kayfabe perspective, at a certain point, the lines start getting blurred, where it's like, oh, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, right? Yeah, Lana's obnoxious, right? And she cheated on Rusev with Lashley, right? But it's done now, man. It's been a minute, you know. Like they're married now. If you follow the kayfabe, it's like they're in love, so they're getting married, right? And the fact that like Lana apparently finger banged Liv Morgan or whatever, maybe they went down on each other. Who the fuck knows? Maybe some light or heavy scissoring, you know? Like this doesn't justify you ruining someone's wedding, you know? It's like if someone that I had sex with like 8 years ago ruins my wedding in 5 years, I'll be like, what the fuck are you doing? This is retarded. Like, you're obviously the heel in this situation. But Liv Morgan is being presented as the face, right? And this is gonna go nowhere either because the makeover is like there was no makeover. She just came back and now she's gay, and it doesn't even matter because like she's gay and like in my opinion a heel because she's going after Lana, who really didn't do anything to her as far as we know thus far, you know. So that was a waste of time. And then we had another jobber match, Charlotte versus Sarah Logan, right? It didn't even happen because Charlotte whooped that ass. Then we had No Way Jose come out. I'm like, oh, who is he going to job to? Isn't it sad that you just know that some of these wrestlers are never going to win? And, Drew McIntyre comes out. The fans are surprisingly behind him, you know? So he beats No Way Jose. And then he asks the fans if they want to see him do another Claymore. The fans respond, yes. So he, which was weird because, like, No Way Jose doesn't deserve to be beaten up because the fans want to see it, right? But Drew takes him in, throws him in, does like a little countdown with his hand, hits another Claymore, declares himself eligible for the Royal Rumble, like as if like, well, that wouldn't surprise anyone, you know? Like, I don't know why people have to declare themselves eligible. Like, Brock Lesnar, I understand because number one, he's a huge deal, and two, he's the champion, right? And three, he doesn't do this. And that's another thing. They kept saying, they're like, Brock Lesnar has never done this before. He fucking won the Royal Rumble in like the year 2001 or whatever, 2002, I think it was, right? Like, yeah, not 2001, but 2000, yeah, because I think The Rock won it in 2000, and then Stone Cold, and then after that, I think it was Brock Lesnar, or it may have been Triple H and then Brock Lesnar. Yeah, Triple H and Brock Lesnar. So 2002, like he's won the Royal Rumble before. So, but still, that is like a big reveal. You know what I mean? But like, it's not a big reveal that like Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre are going to be there. Of course they're going to be there. You know, like obviously Kurt Hawkins is going to be in it. So of course they're going to be. This is fucking stupid, man. So anyways, that was a complete waste of time, in my opinion. Like Drew McIntyre, this has Erick Rowan written all over it. Like, what is the payoff here, you know? It's the same thing that happened with Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy, where it's like both of them were beating like Cedric Alexander and Tony Nese. Then they had a match, then they had another match, and they still have a feud going on. And it's like, what's the payoff, though? Like, why am I invested in this? Like, okay, like if Buddy Murphy beats Aleister Black tomorrow, who cares? Like, what has changed fundamentally, right? Are they going to turn to a tag team? Like, The Bar became a tag team? I don't fucking know, motherfuckers. But that's the only thing that makes sense to me because this is like, this rivalry that's so meaningless has gone on too long, you know? Even the Sheamus Cesaro rivalry was like obviously better because number one, they had better matches in my opinion. But I mean, I'll be honest, like the Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy matches aren't bad. But at least Sheamus was a former champion and Cesaro is a monster. So the implications were that one of them was going to get a title shot. That was part of the storyline. Here is just two cruiserweights fighting each other, you know? So, so Shelton Benjamin came out and wrestled Aleister Black. Aleister Black won. Buddy Murphy attacked him and like taunted him basically. I hope one of them gets fired or something, man, because this has gone on way too long. Like, if you want to be real about it, it's pretty much gone on for a year because for a year, Aleister Black came after like WrestleMania. You know, he joined what the fuck's it called? SmackDown, right? And his entire thing was exactly that. He was like, I'm looking for a fight. I'm looking for a fight, right? And he would just fight people that were like stepping stones. You know, he was looking for that fight. And the fight that he was looking for was fucking Buddy Murphy all along. Like, this is his most formidable opponent. Buddy Murphy, the jobber. Whatever, man. So, he beat Shelton Benjamin, who looks better than him. He's like in much better shape, and he's a better wrestler. So I don't understand why people like Shelton Benjamin have to be held down. I get it, he's older, right? But so is AJ Styles, right? Why can't Shelton Benjamin do that kind of shit? So anyways, and I'm not saying make Shelton Benjamin champion, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying, like, why is he a jobber? Why can't he be, like, in the spot that Dolph Ziggler's in, you know what I mean? Or, like, John Morrison's going to come back. He's not going to be a jobber immediately. So it's kind of like that, you know? What else? Next, we had the final match, the main event. It was Seth Rollins and AOP versus Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens and a mystery opponent. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, the mystery opponent's going to be Ricochet. It's going to be Cedric Alexander or some bullshit like that, like it always is. No, motherfuckers. This was actually a good mystery opponent. So I don't want to say I'm marked out because I'm very tired. I didn't sleep at all last night. So like while I was watching, I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. But like inside, I marked out. You know what I mean? Because how can I not mark out when I hear this? Well, it's the Big Show. I just lost my mind internally. You know, Big Show came out. He looked great considering that he hasn't wrestled in a while. It was just fantastic because like even though the match ended with Seth Rollins hitting Big Show with a chair in the back, therefore causing a DQ. After the match, Seth Rollins tried to curb stomp Big Show. Owens grabs his foot. He turns around. Big Show just knocks him out with a WMD. And then AOP just drag him out. like clearly a loss for Team Rollins this week. You know what I mean? And next week, right before they go off air, they're like, it's going to be a great week. Next week, we're going to have this match and that match and this match and that match. And all of them are like bullshit matches. And one of them is like the first ever fist fight in the history of Raw, right? Which I'm assuming is going to be just like basically like a 6-man tornado tag. But it's the same exact match that we just saw, right? Like, what are the rules of a fist fight? Can you hit someone with a chair? Because if you can't, then what we saw this week was more dangerous, right? So, and they're doing another mystery opponent again. I don't know if it's going to be Big Show. That would be kind of stupid if they're still advertising mystery opponent. But we'll see. We'll burn that bridge when we get there. Cucks. So anyways, before I go, I just wanted to say a couple of things up in this bitch, right? Some guy, I gotta share this with you guys. This is fucking hilarious. This happened right before I started making this video. Some guy was like I commented on let me look at the entire post. So I wrote on night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom 14. I wrote, LOL, Okada, one of the greatest of all time. He's not even like top 20 right now, let alone comparing him to someone like Angle or HBK or Taker. And I said, he's on the level of D'Lo Brown. And I really believe that, man. Like, D'Lo Brown is very underrated, you know? But D'Lo Brown, I don't remember him, like, you know, doing anything special. And I don't see Okada doing anything special. They both botch, you know? D'Lo Brown, he's had his fair share of botches, you know what I'm saying? So what's the difference? You know, they're the same guy. Like, the only difference is that D'Lo Brown was like a quasi-star in the biggest company in wrestling history at its best time. And Okada was a jobber in TNA. That's the only difference I see. So this asshole, well, not this asshole. I'm sure he's a nice guy, you know? This gatekeeper, right? He starts saying like first of all, they always start with like the smart argument of, he says, the hater, you can only think you were speaking the truth if you are delusional. Like, that's not an argument. You can say that about anything. Let me tell you guys something about the art of argumentation, which I have mastered, motherfuckers. Think about it this way, right? Weak arguments are arguments that either appeal to authority or arguments that can be used for anything. And there's a lot of overlap, right? So, like, a weak argument would be like, it is this way because God said so. And it's like, dude, you can say that about anything. You know, like someone can be like, you know, you should walk on the right side of the street because God said so. And you're like, what? Like, you can use that to explain anything, right? And another one is, which is also the God example stands here too, is the appeal to authority, right? And that's what this asshole's doing. Basically, he's saying like, he's like, clearly the truth is like what I think it is, and if you don't agree with me, you're delusional. And I'm like, dude, explain to me like how what I said was wrong. Now I know I was trolling, of course, right? So I respond with, you think Okada is better than Michaels? And I mean, I wrote more, of course, but. Then this guy eventually, this circle jerkery leads to him saying like, oh, so are you saying that El Santo like isn't, you know, important, right? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, my point, like the point I made before that was that Okada was lower on the card than people like Shark Boy and Sanjay Dutt, and then now he's like a main eventer all of a sudden. You know what I mean? He hasn't gotten better or anything. He hasn't gotten in better shape, right? And this guy says how like, he's like just as big as Cena or some bullshit, right? And then he says, oh, El Santo. And I'm like, who the fuck is El Santo? Like, I'm not going to sit here and waste my time with this nonsense. I'm like, who the fuck is El Santo? And this guy's like, he says, quote, the hater, you've never heard of El Santo? Well then, that just tells me even more about how much you know about wrestling, ... What a douche. What the passive-aggressive ... as if he's made a point, you know? So I Googled this El Santo guy, right? I Googled this stupid sub bitch. And you know what, motherfucks? I didn't even, like, he has, like, a very small, like, fucking, like, Wikipedia page, you know? He's dead now. Rest in peace, El Santo, right? And, so I'm looking at his championships accomplishments. He's won a few titles in Mexico, right? So I'm like, all right, I'll go down. He was in the WWE Hall of Fame, I guess. So I'm looking at his Luchas de Apuestas record, right? Which is like those hair mask matches, right? And apparently he's won all of them, basically. So it was a complete waste of time. I guess he had one every week. But anyways, the whole point is this little, not asshole, but this El Santo guy, right? His last match, right, was in 1980, right? He died in the year 1984, and he was 66. So pretty young, but he had his last match when he was 62. So I look up here, and I see that some of his first matches are in the 40s, man. In the fucking 40s, before World War II. That's Hitler time, motherfuckers. Hitler was out there killing people, and these people in Mexico were having like lucha libre fights, right? And one of them was El Santo. So this little shit on YouTube wants me to believe that like he's seen El Santo perform. No, motherfucker, you've never seen El Santo perform. They don't even have tapes from like 1943. Where the fuck did you see it? You know what I mean? And if you did, that's shame on you if you did, man. That's fucking embarrassing. I wouldn't tell people that you've seen El Santo matches. Have you lost your fucking mind? What the fuck is El Santo? You know? Oh, I know more about wrestling than you because I like El Santo. Yeah, it doesn't change the fact that you're a fucking neckbeard. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't change the fact that you started out like up in this bitch, probably watching wrestling like after like Daniel Bryan had his WrestleMania moment, and then you went back and just Googled everything. You're like, oh, like I have to be a good, knowledgeable wrestling fan. I have a friend like that. One of my very good friends. He's from Colombia, and he's really into soccer, right? And he's really into like soccer fandom. I've known this guy for a long, long time, and I don't really give a rat's ass about like team loyalty. Like I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? To me, it's just a bunch of people kicking a ball around, right? But the standards my friend has are so ridiculously high of what constitutes a good soccer fan. He's like, if you like, let's say you like Inter Milan, right? He's like, that's his team. He's like, if you like Inter Milan, right? He's like, you have to go, according to my friend, you have to go and research the history of Inter Milan to know what player played when and what position in order to be a real fan. And I'm like, no, fam. How about my philosophy? I'll switch allegiances like at halftime in the Super Bowl. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? So this guy has the same kind of standards where it's like, in order to understand wrestling, you've had to have watched El Santo. Get the fuck out of here. I would even argue the exact opposite. If you've watched El Santo, you have no idea what wrestling is because you think it's a guy in the 40s, right, wrestling a mask versus hair match. You know what I mean? That's the problem, right? That's the fucking problem, motherfuckers. So that's what I got to say about that. Good night to all of you. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe today, motherfuckers. Just click the goddamn button. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, do it for me. Do it for you. You know what I'm saying? Do it for us. Do it so we can continue fighting this war. And even if you're not on my side of the war, click it. Because I'll get more views. Then I'll go after people, and you'll be entertained when they tear me down, which they won't, because nobody can tear the hater down and the hater army. Shout out to my boys. You know what I'm saying? All right, motherfuckers. Good night, and see you probably tomorrow. I mean, I'm kind of free tomorrow, so I'll probably do a couple of videos here and there up in this piece. You know what I'm saying? Good night. Fuck it.